So today what we're gathered here for is a community of practice for pilot sites who are piloting work-based learning experiences, including career exploration and career development experiences as part of a grant opportunity from the Illinois State Board of Education. I'm Heather Penzak. I'm from Education Systems Center, and I do all things work-based learning, both at a state level and community supports level. So I'm very much here to be your guide, answer any questions that you have regarding work-based learning. Karen Lockhart from ISBE is here as well if you have questions about the grant generally or any pieces like that. But do a lot through these communities of practice to gather presenters to share about their pilots and what's currently going on with their experiences, and then also just create time for you all to connect with each other and have some of that breakout room conversation. So would love to know who's here today. So if you want to go ahead and please write your name, title, organization in the chat. Always kind of helpful to see the different roles and different communities who are showing up here today. And just really quick logistics, right? Muting your computers and your phone to if you're not sharing or presenting anything out loud. And we will, as each community shares about their pilot experience, we'll leave some space then afterwards for you all to ask questions and kind of get some more details on that. And very much encourage you all to use the chat as well. Like if somebody's sharing something and you don't want to forget that question, please go ahead and put it in the chat and I'll make sure to monitor it as well. I know our presenters will too, but we can make sure then to flag those, or they might even address the question while they're presenting. But I know sometimes it's like you're presenting and the chat's going and it gets a little wild. So we will create that space for questions at the end of each presentation. Welcome, welcome, and thank you all. Excited to see who's all here. So again, plan for today, I'm going to do just a here to remind folks who might be new to the community of practice of the different resources that we have, a couple of announcements. We have 2 community presentations. I'm going to get at the Hoopeston area school district. Maybe I did that right. Riverbend School District. And then we'll also spend time after they present about their experiences to go in some breakout rooms. You'll be in by your pilot focus area. So I have 3 different rooms set up, one for career exploration at the K-8 level, one for career exploration in that high school 9 through 12 level, and then a group for folks doing the career development experiences. If we need to break out more than that, we can, but we'll see how that works. All right, some quick resources. Again, these are going to be very much reminders for those of you who have been at previous communities of practice, but just want to always make sure this is shared with you all. So we are within this pilot opportunity along the work-based learning continuum that we have here defined in the state. We're looking at the career exploration more towards the beginning of that continuum. And again, just a quick reminder here, if you all can please make sure to mute yourselves so there's no background noise here. And then we're also at that career development phase as well. So definitions of those as we have them by the state, right? Thinking about your career exploration as being those activities like a job shadow, career expo, employer site visits. The big pieces here and what needs to be really thoughtful within your pilots are how are students engaging directly with employers. They're getting to ask questions live and in person, potentially virtually as well, right? But they are live with that employer. And then also they're getting knowledge of one or more industry sectors or occupations. So they're understanding the variety of opportunities that exist within like health sciences, for example, right? They're really learning about those different components and not just seeing it as like a nurse or a doctor, right? But knowing that there's a whole breadth of opportunity within an industry area. Career development experiences as we move farther along that continuum. These are your supervised work experiences. They're your more intensive experiences, and career development experience is really a broad term to encompass things like internships, supervised agricultural experiences, co-op, what you all might think of as some of those co-op classes in the past, right? Or workplace learning. But these are the 6 components here. So when you're thinking about your internship or what is falling under this career development experience, it qualifies as that as long as it's meeting these 6 components. There's just a little bit of background noise here. See, sorry, if I muted you, you will be able to unmute yourself, but just want to make sure sound is all good. So with that, we've had previous meetings, previous communities of practice, and so we do have a site down here, and I will share this whole presentation here with you all in just a moment. But we do have a link over here to a resource hub that includes previous meeting recordings and presentations all the way back from August. Lots of statewide frameworks that we have for you all and resources there. There's also different resources. So as we've had different communities come on and present about their pilot plans, any resources that they have shared are on this site. And we've also included a list of pilot plans. So just kind of, paragraph or some longer descriptions of what communities were thinking about when they first launched their pilot. And I'll explain towards the end of today too. We'll have a showcase in April where they'll talk about, okay, so what did they do and what did that look like, right? But if you want to look at some of that initial thinking and those plans, that is all there for you on our site. And just want to make a flag here too. At EdSystems, we have our own high school intern, and so Annie has started their outreach. So some of you on the call have actually heard from Annie already. Some of you all may be hearing from her, especially those of you who are presenting today. So we have some different templates for career exploration and career development experiences. A big goal of this grant is really building up resource banks statewide so that other folks who aren't part of this kind of pilot opportunity can still learn from what you all have done. So Annie will be reaching out with that, but if you are interested, you really have a model that you would love to be highlighted as a statewide resource, please just go ahead and email me directly and I can get you connected with Annie and they can start helping you fill all that out. I also have had different questions, and I was looking at our forum from last time too, some of the feedback about engaging student voice and hearing from them, like, well, how did it go? Like, what did you think about that? So I'd love to just flag for you as you maybe finished your pilot, or are you still kind of in design?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Before you launch your pilot?
I'm on a Zoom thing right now, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry, Amy, I might have asked you to unmute. I'm not sure what I just did. But would really encourage you to think about how you're understanding the student experience after the pilot happened, or how you're using their voice to inform the design of your pilot. So put in a few resources here. Chicago Public Schools, they have a whole really robust work-based learning toolkit, and they have some reflection guides there for you for like career day, guest speaker, internship to spur your thinking about how you might do that. Also recently did an activity with our Illinois 60 by 25 Student Advisory Council. And if you go on this link, it'll force you to make a copy you can customize, but they basically designed their own work-based learning continuums, talked about the things that they want in a work-based learning continuum. And then there's a student blog post here as well. It could be a good activity for your students to do, right? But also just something to read and see how a student reflects on their experience doing a networking night event in person and virtually. Also learn about the networking night model as well, which is a really great career exploration example. I also want to flag too, just again, we've mentioned this before, but through the feedback form that I saw, there were a lot of questions about different templates and documents and things that you all could use for the career development experience. So in here, there is a link to the toolkit. And so you all should be seeing my website screen now, right, for the career development experience toolkit. And so I do just want to encourage you to go in here as you go to the different sections. And you scroll kind of all the way down to each section. There's all these different resources and templates. So even like under host information, you could click and there's like a whole host profile template to gather information on that person who is actually hosting the student for the career development experience. So I encourage you to go through that website, kind of click through each section, see where you might need to gather those templates, but do just want to make it known that you don't have to start at the beginning, right, and start from a blank page, but we really do have those templates ready and available for you, and they're aligned with that statewide framework for career development experience. And then just an announcement here, it was put into the last email kind of announcing this community of practice, probably sent about a month ago or so, but next week we are having our annual 60 by 25 network conference. This year's theme is Equity First, building toward a better future and revitalizing learning. There's a lot of sections in there that are directly related to work-based learning, but there's a whole variety of sections, sessions all about that experience of a student transitioning from, middle school, elementary to high school to post-secondary, all different levels of education and all different components of education are going to be discussed. So very much encourage you to register. It's fully virtual, it's fully free. Go check that out, look at the sessions, sign up for some of them. All sessions will be recorded and pretty much released at the end of the day. They do a really good job of that. So if you can't attend something, but you're interested in it, right, flag it, put it on your agenda and go back and listen to that when you're able to, but wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. And I don't know if Karen, you have any announcements or pieces that you want to share with the group?
Good morning. I just wanted to remind everyone that I did send out the year-end report form, just so you could, be looking at it now and know what we're going to be looking for at the end of the year. That's not due until after the school year closes. So I'm thinking, just having it due by the end of July with everything else. You can send it in early, of course, if you have your information together in time for that. And then a reminder that there is still a GATA report that kind of automatically populates, and I've still got several hanging out there. So if you would please go in. You might not have caught them because remember, this was funded out of FY21, so you'll be going through into 2021 to find that GATA report. That's really all I've got as far as updates on my side related to this grant. But as always, if you have any questions about, amendments or where things are at with your projects, let me know.
Thanks, Karen. And wanted to make a space here too. If you all have any kind of additional announcements or resources that you want to share with the group before we dive into our presentation here, although I do see a question from Daryl too about where ISBE funding might be continuing for future work.
I have heard that funds may be available this year for something, but this specific project is not planned on being repeated. So this is a one-time thing. I'm hoping it's something related though, because I get really excited about the work-based learning.
Yeah, same. But do just again want to pause here if you all have opportunities, resources, pieces coming up that you think would be valuable for this group to know and learn from. You can put them in the chat or anything like that too.
Well, this is Cassie from Valleys. Next Friday, the group that we're working with to develop a PD tool for business and industry. So this would be for your industry partners that would like to host an intern, but feel nervous about it, maybe haven't ever done it before, don't really know where to get started. So it's an online platform with videos and resources, and it'll take them a couple hours to do what's in the online platform, and then probably a couple more hours to write the intern job description, gather some documents. But we're going to be demoing it with a small group of business and industry folks a week from tomorrow, and then refining it. And then it's something that I'll be able to share with everybody across the state. So anyone that has a business partner that's like, oh yeah, maybe I'd host a high school intern, but I don't really know how to get started, could use this tool along with that partner. So that's where we are.
Kathy, and we've already got you on deck for the April showcase to share that. So stay tuned for our April convening. Anyone else before I turn it to our community presenters here? All right, well, if you think of it, please put it in the chat, but otherwise I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our Hoopeston area school district presenters here. We have Suzanne Lambert and Nick Chatterton.
All right, Suzanne, I'll kick us off and then I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds great.
All right. First, I want to draw attention to something really important. Hoopeston High School has one of ESPN's top 10 mascots. That would be Jerky the Corn Jerker. So if you've ever watched that, you should, it's pretty important around there, that particular emblem. A lot of people don't understand what a corn jerker is, and actually back in the late 1800s, they would hire folks to come out and take the corn off the stalk, and that was a corn jerker. So that's a pretty proud thing for that school district. Where we're located is in East Central Illinois, East Central Illinois. We are very rural, and we have very low SES as a region. We do have some manufacturing. We've got some trucking companies, so logistics is a pretty big deal. And of course we have agriculture. And we tend to beat that to death with our kids. lots of field trips to. I can give the ThyssenKrupp Press a tour myself. I've been through that so many times. So when this grant came up, we some of my schools decided we're going to do kind of the standard career day showcase with area employers, which is great, and they're going to do a fabulous job with it. Suzanne wrote up a proposal that I'm pretty sure I went about, and Karen, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure you did too, because when you hear the locations that these folks are going to take their kids on a field trip to Chicago, and when you hear the locations, you're going to go, I don't know if that's really the spirit of what we're intending here with this grant, because it sounds like a field trip that you would take your fourth graders on. But when Suzanne explained this further to me, what she was looking to achieve with these field trips, I really got excited about it, because we don't have a lot we have kind of half dozen to a dozen opportunities that are pretty standard that we talk about here in Vermilion County. She's going to take her students to different locations in Chicago that may at first glance look like, we're just visiting the field museum. Okay, whatever, that's a field trip. What does that have to do with career and tech ed and industry? Well, there's jobs there that we can't even, we don't even really think about. And so she's delving into what goes into those particular locations and those industries, if you will, to expose students to those careers. I wanted to share one thing, and this wasn't a Hoopeston student, but it was one of my Danville High School students, and I think this is the sort of opportunities that Suzanne is looking to have her students get, and then I'm going to shut up and turn it over to her. I was talking to a young lady yesterday from Danville High School. She's in our welding program, and I just kind of inquired, why welding for you? She seemed pretty jacked up about it. She goes, well, I went to Disney World a few years back, and I was just doing the Disney thing, and there was somebody welding there at Disney, and he had a little Mickey Mouse shirt on, and so he was taking his lunch break, and I was talking to him, and she said, I'm going to go be a Disney welder. I get a free pass for the rest of my life. They make tremendous money. Who'd ever thought about an amusement park like that, hiring, full-time, welders, or sheet metal fabricators or things like that. And I mean, she's my new hero. I'd never thought about that. And that just, I think that's the mindset that Suzanne had and Hoopeston had when they developed this, that there are those aha moments that the kids can have. And we're trying to expose our students that don't often get out of rural Vermilion County to be able to have those experiences. So Suzanne is going to talk a little bit more about that. And then Heather, if I can just kind of add on with that Modex thing afterwards, that'd be great.
Well, thank you. And here is a corn jerker right on my shirt, if you can see it, so that you can see what a corn jerker is. Makes a little more sense once you see it is a piece of corn. So we are going on some field trips coming up. Now, due to Chicago's rules of being vaccinated, it changed our locations. We are going to go to Springfield and we're going to go to Indianapolis. So bigger cities right around where Hoopeston is. Hoopeston is about 5,000 people. That includes multiple different school districts, small little towns that come and consolidate with us. So, and when I was looking at this, I wanted to take them to places where they have not thought of, where could I get a different job? What could my career be? So in my class, my career and college prep class, what we do is we are looking at career clusters. We're looking at what are your passions, your values. What is it that you want to do? Are you somebody that wants to help people? What type of careers can you do helping people? So as we looked for all of these different career clusters, and each one of the kids are trying to find out, they have an idea of what they kind of want to do. They're not sure, because I have freshmen and a few sophomores are in this class. And so we are going to go and we're going to look at some different places. So in Springfield, we're going to go to the state capitol. So we're going to look at what's the security there. If you're into, security and protecting, and that is one of your passions and values that you have, you might not even think you don't have to have just a job as a police officer in a town. You could be working there at the state capitol. What about the press? How could you have a job doing that if you have something that you're interested in reporting, or you're really good at writing? So we're going to look at a lot of the different ins and outs, not just what's there. What are all these other background jobs that everyone is doing there? Even as far as the signage in the places, somebody had to be that graphic designer. So there's all of my kids that are very artistic and want to design things, those that are taking our marketing classes, seeing that there are some other jobs other than just seeing a politician there, seeing a tour guide there, all of these background things that make these careers something that these, students could do that they may have never thought of. We are going to go to some different museums. What about being a tour guide? What about hospitality? What about the supply and demand of providing all of the different supplies for those museums that they may need? The food industry within the museums that are going to be there as well. Somebody's working there. So we're going to go to a bunch of different places. We're going to see a Frank Lloyd Wright house that's over there. So now anyone who's interested in architecture or design, they can see how, the different aspects are going to be within this house, as well as we're going to come across some of, just going in and admissions. Somebody's there, doing the customer service on that level as well. So we really I tried to pick a bunch of different places within Springfield. We're going to go to Indianapolis. We're going to go to the Indianapolis Speedway. And we're going to look at all the different jobs that are available there, from the maintenance crew, those that have to maintain this. Again, all of the public relations that goes with all of that. So we're going to go to, the Children's Museum as well. And we're going to look at the different aspects that someone may have there. So when we were doing this, I wanted to take them outside of Hoopeston. Hoopeston's a very small town. There's, a couple of factories in town, the McDonald's, a Dairy Queen, the swimming pool. This is where the kids can, get their, experience working. We do a job shadowing already in my class, and we go to all of the different places in town. They're very good and help us out, go to the medical, go to the car dealership, things like that. But I wanted to take them to things that we don't have in town so that we could get them to see that not only can you do customer service, at a Dairy Queen here in town in the summer, but that could lead you to a different career down the road. And it could be, something in government. It could be something in hospitality. Even we're going to interview our tour bus driver to see about his job. He gets a great experience going all over the place. It's a charter bus that we're going to take. He gets a huge experience. So he's going to have a different aspect than just the bus driver. They can see that, hey, if I like to travel, this might be a great career for me as well. So when we were looking at it, I tried to get them places that we really don't have available in Hoopeston. And so that was kind of where we were at when I was doing all the planning stages. Originally we were Chicago, but then everything had changed at the time of the vaccine. So I went and picked other big cities around us. So they're excited. The kids are super excited to go. It is on their spring break. They're not required to go. And we already have about 16 kids signed up out of the 35 in my 2 sections of classes. So they are excited to go. Some, of course, already had spring break plans with family, but some of them want to spend it going on a charter bus, leaving at 6:30 in the morning and going exploring all these different places and maybe getting a better idea of what would work for them for a career and for their post-secondary success. Because we talk a lot about that and how everything that they're doing now leads to where they want to get to. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing in less than a month.
Thank you,
All
Susan.
right.
I saw there was a question from Michael about if you based any of these kind of visits, the job shadow or this experience on students' own interests, or
Their job shadowing is based specifically on which career cluster that they want. So what it is we actually don't go just during our scheduled class time. It's the whole entire day. And I take the little white bus if it's small enough and I drive them there. We go there, like at the car dealership, we have some kids will go back with the mechanics and they will see what that's actually like. If they want to be any kind of mechanic whatsoever. Others will break into a different group for sales. Some will go to the accounting department. Some of them will go to the business owner himself and he'll explain how he got started, what he did. So we actually have a lot of different clusters that'll go maybe to one spot, but it might be for variety of things. We do take some, of course, we are agriculture and farms. And so we do take them out to a working farm and, they get to see what it's like, to raise cattle and, things like that and the different equipment. And we also were lucky enough, the family that does this for me, the wife is also a photographer. So all of my interests, my students are interested in photography and different things and, nature, they're out there doing the thing too. So we spend about 2 hours on our job shadowing. And it's within a whole week. So we kind of spread it out. Some of them go to the different schools if they're interested in teaching and they will job shadow some of the other schools, the elementary schools, because we're at the high school. So we'll do that. We go to medical as well. Got some connections there where they will let us in. And of course, there's certain things they can't see, but they see all the background stuff like, hey, I want to be a nurse, but there's a lot of paperwork I have to do with this too. It's not just helping and taking care of people. I better know how to, write something, a good, paragraph. I need to know how to edit things. I have to have my communication skills, So, yep, we go to a lot of different things. The only one I could not do was somebody wanted to do something with, the ocean. I said, well, we don't really have that around here. I mean, right now we might just because of all the freezing and, the snow going, we've got puddles everywhere. But so we do a lot of those different activities for them. And it helps them really get an idea because we all have this dream of, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? But when you see there's other things that come behind it, I think that's what really brings that to life. So, and they have to do some reports on this. They have to interview the people that they're with. So they're learning interviewing skills. We do some mock interviews at school. I have people come in and they have to do their resume. They sit there and have to try to apply for any job that they would like. So we really try to get them into what it will be like when they get out of the small town where you don't know people, where you're going to have to shine yourself and how can you shine? What do you have? What skills do you have? And a lot of them really look at these opportunities as something they've never done before. And some of them don't have the even opportunity to see that there's so much left in town that they can still do as well. They think they're just kind of stuck in a small town. But when they see the other opportunities, like when going to the car dealership and going to every single department that they have, they go, oh, wow, I could do this because I'm a salesperson. I could get a job here at the dealership. and have a great career. So that's our program. So this just expanded on it, being able to take them outside of Hoopeston. So I think that's going to be eye-opening to a lot of them as well. And like I said, they're excited. Some of them already asked where we're going to eat. I said, well, we're going to pick somewhere and then we're going to pick apart every job that's at that restaurant, because I have some that are wanting to be culinary chefs. How do you get a job at one of these great restaurants in a big city?
I absolutely love that you go, like, you have an employer partner, right, who's willing to do this to every department, right? Because I think, students say, oh, well, I can't work there because I don't like cars or something. It's like, but you like sales, to your point, or you like accounting, right? And like, they need that too. I really love that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah. And there's this, this piece too of like what you said about like, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And I heard someone say the other day about it's like, it's really hard to like conceptualize that. Like, what do I want to be when I grow up? But like, what do you want to do in the next 5 years, right? What do you want to do in the next 10 years, right? And like actually engaging helps you think about that.
Yes, absolutely. It brings it more to light, and then they feel a little more empowered with their decision, especially when we go to start researching all of this and they find out, I really enjoyed this aspect of the job shadowing, or I've had some say, I don't really know that that's cut out for me. That's not really what I thought everything on that job would be. And that's what they need to know so that they can be in a career. I always tell them, a job is something that you go to every day. A career is going to be something that you love. You're not going to look at it like it's work. You're going to want to
town
be there.
she's from. She said, oh, I know she said it was.
Got it.
Thank you again, Suzanne. I don't know if there's, Nick has a piece to share, but if there's any other questions for Suzanne and their experience. We'll be excited. I think we might see if you want to come back to the showcase here after you do your field trip and how it goes and share your learnings from that too. Would love to hear about it.
Okay, we will do that. Thank you.
Still trying to find a seat on that bus.
I got a few spots available, but you got to get your permission slip in.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Nick.
Suzanne. The one other thing I wanted to quickly share, and I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. Hang with me for just a second. When you have 45 different windows up, it really makes for things to be difficult sometimes. I can't find the one that I'm looking for. Where is Firefox? Oh, there it is. Okay. So last week, we had our annual IACT conference in Bloomington, and some of you may have attended that. Some of you may have attended the WIU presentation on Friday on supply chain management. And that's something that we talk a lot about over here in Vermilion County, being on the state line. We have several very large, we're supposed to call them logistic firms, but they're trucking companies. And we have AutoZone and Walgreens and several other places that are constantly hiring pickers, for lack of a better term. And that is kind of the impression that our students get when we talk about supply chain management is, well, that's truck driving or it's picking, and it's not really something that is super exciting. But this day and age, supply chain management is kind of on the tip of everybody's tongue because of the 100 ships that are off the coast of California. We're not able to get our Amazon packages are taking 3 or 4 days. Oh my gosh. But there's issues there. And some of it obviously has to do with COVID, has to do with lack of employees for a lot of these companies. And so that session was meant to kind of address that. In that session, the presenter, and she's a professor at Western in supply chain management talked about a conference called MODEX. And I have zero idea what that stands for. But it is a supply chain management mega conference. And it bounces between Atlanta and Chicago every year. And she was talking a little bit about it and mentioned that she takes a group every year to this conference, specifically because they have an education day. And so I just brought this up real quick to show you. It is on March 30th, and this is in Atlanta. So I know this is probably a big stretch. I don't know, Karen, you might get a bunch of amendments after this, or maybe not. We'll see. But it is an education day where the conference is solely focused on high school and college age students to talk about all the different aspects of supply chain management, the different jobs within it, and not really to try to dissuade the stigma of picking and truck driving. Not that there's anything wrong with picking and truck driving, but there's just much more to it. You can see that, Shaq is going to be there to talk. So that's a pretty interesting thing to me. What he has to say about supply chain management, kind of looking forward to that. It's free. It's a free conference. So the registration obviously isn't a problem. It's going to be transportation, food and lodging. That would be a part of that. But I had never heard of this before, and I just wanted to quickly share this with everybody. I've got one school that is inquired about it, and I'm actually going to work with them this afternoon to kind of talk through it and see if it is at all logical for this year. But we're most certainly, even if this grant is not available, we'll be doing this next year. So that's really all I had, Heather.
Oh, thanks, Nick. And there's some requests here too for the link, if you have a moment to share that in the chat.
I will pop in this education link right now. Obviously, it's not the homepage, but I think that's the one that most will be wanting to look at.
Perfect. Thank you. And then I think we'll get a moment here and we'll start transferring over to our other presenters here from the Riverbend School District. I believe we have both Bob and Daryl on the line, I think I saw. So a big thank you again to Suzanne and Nick for sharing about your experience. And I agree with in the chat, very excited to hear about how it goes, right? And where you end up eating at too. But I don't know if you can see them all, Suzanne, but you've got lots of great shout outs too from what you shared in the chat. Oh, awesome. Great. Wonderful. Well, I will turn it over to you, Bob and Daryl, to share about your career development experience. And again, let me know if helpful to share my screen it all for you.
I think I should be able to share mine here and then be able to kind of go through this presentation with you guys. Before I start sharing, I'll drop the presentation link into the chat if you guys want to follow along. I'm going to go through it pretty quick. This is a pretty quick presentation as far as where we were at. Fulton High School is located in, I would say, northwest Illinois. We are right along the Mississippi River, so we're about 4,000 total population. That's 3 towns put together. We have a very high manufacturing in our area, a lot of manufacturing. Just across the river is Clinton, Iowa, and that's a lot larger, about 30,000 people. They again have a lot of manufacturing in that area as well. We have been working with across the river and working with our community colleges over there to try and offer more to our students here. So our local community college career center is about 45 minutes away. So it makes sense for us to kind of just take a jump over the river and access some of these other programs there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll start sharing this presentation. I'll be moving through it fairly quick. Dr. Hogue will jump in as we need. And as he shares, some of this is his dissertation that he did when he was getting his doctorate degree. So I'm sure he will like to discuss some of the some of his some of his work. Can everybody see this just fine?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay. So again, I'll introduce myself, Bob Gosh, principal at Fulton High School. This is my 5th year in the district. Dr. Hogue has been here, I believe, 8 years, or 9, Dr. Hogue, am I wrong on that?
8 years.
So it's been great. We've made a lot of progress, and I'm excited to share what we've been working on. So we know from ISBE that there are some college and career readiness indicators that we need to have in order to apply for some certificates through ISBE. Those have to be career development experiences, industry credentials, dual credit pathway courses. So students have to have dual credit. They have to complete a program of study. They have to attain or maintain consistent employment for a minimum of 12 months. So there's some things that we have a lot more control over in these indicators, and that's where we kind of focused. One of our things that already existed was community involvement. This was a senior year, and we're a block schedule in the high school, so our class periods are 85 minutes. Students take 4 classes on one day, and then the very next day they take a set of 4 different classes, and then it just keeps alternating A and B days for the semester. So our students had 85 minutes to go to a place of employment to job shadow for the entire semester. So this could be, we've had students go to medical facilities, various other occupations in the area. They did write reflections on a weekly basis as to what they learned and what they did. But we know that this had to be capacity. So this was Dr. Hogue's research. Again, and we noticed that a lot of students, when they did what he had observed is once students were in these work study programs and community involvement, attendance was better, GPA was better. So we knew that this was beneficial for those students. Anything, Dr. Hogue, you'd like to add?
No, I think it's just, and anecdotally, I surveyed the employers and the students and the parents, and all spoke highly of the opportunity, the work-based learning program. Parents loved that their kids had opportunities. Unlike we could give them in a school day, the employers really enjoyed having the students on site. That was a surprise, not a surprise, but I mean, it was a consistent response. They really enjoyed having the students. They felt like it elevated the workplace. And then, of course, you can see some of the attendance and GPA outcomes in the school, twice as likely to attend 2 or 4 year college or have some sort of direction after high school.
So the next part, we've had community involvement for a while, and our next part of it that kind of started a lot more of this work, made me pursue a lot more work-based learning and apprenticeships more aggressively, was this statement here, which it pays to get your high school diploma. And we tell that to students all the time. We knew if you earned your diploma, you're most likely your career earnings, what they would be compared to if you didn't have your high school diploma. And it's true, that does happen. However, what happens if employers, they stop requiring a high school diploma? And that was a question that we found out kind of the hard way, is that a lot of our area employers are waiving that requirement. Our students do not have to have a high school diploma in order to get to work, and they'll hire them. I have a slide coming up that'll show you all the openings, but we know where our students are going. And so in the last year, our seniors that graduated, 64% were going to be college bound, either going to 2-year, 4-year vocational school. So we're not a large school. So that's roughly 40 of our students. Usually 1 or 2 students each year will go to the military. And then that means we have 22 students that are going to join the workforce. So that when an employer doesn't require a high school diploma, that means I have 22 students that if high school's not working out for them or their parents are behind them to get this diploma, they could leave and they would be fine. They would get a well-paying job just down the road. And that's kind of intimidating a little bit when you're looking at those statistics. So our goal is we need to provide that coaching flexibility and be able to kind of help pipeline students to our own area employers, because a lot of students will say they want to get out of the area. Well, they need to know, like Suzanne was talking about, what is around them or what all these businesses entail. And they had visited, and we know that we have a lot here to offer in our area. So again, one of the first steps that we did was manufacturing. So to become a combination welder, this is what we knew in our area. One of the local companies in our town, when I did this presentation, has 108 openings. Another one that's just north of us has 20 openings. Another company, they have over 10 openings, and these are CNC machining, combination welder, mechanical electrician. For students that are interested in this, there's definitely a need. So how can we pipeline these students to this local manufacturer? So we found out about the registered apprenticeship. It's actually through the U.S. Department of Labor, and the Department of Labor honestly does most of the work. Once a business is willing to work with the Department of Labor, they can waive that 18 requirement, meaning that these students can go to work 16, 17 years old to start getting on the job training. There are still some restrictions, but they don't have to necessarily, like they can't operate a forklift, but they can start doing some of these other welding positions and they can get paid for it. There's models that already exist, Moline High School, Clinton High School, Clinton being right across the river from us. That was accessible to us. So this made sense for us to explore these registered apprenticeships and how we can get that set up for our students. We currently, how this is working is that we have a student, he's a junior right now. He is going to Clinton High School in the morning for his classes each day, and he's doing the welding. He's getting, at the end of this year, I believe he's going to have 24 dual credits towards becoming a combination welder. He took 4 classes last semester, taking 4 this semester. So he's going to have a lot of his education done by the time he reaches his senior year. His senior year, he's going to interview at JT Colon for a position there. And if he is accepted, he does well in the interview, he's going to start going there in the mornings and getting paid to do that. So he will be being paid while also earning high school credit. So then once he's actually out of high school, then he's going to just finish up his education. He's still going to be there. And all of a sudden, now he's going to be making money, and he's probably going to finish his education and be locked in as a full-time, fully certified welder, combination welder, by the time he's 20 years old, which is awesome for him. So that's a very exciting thing to see. And the next part of it that we also talked about is education. We know the teacher shortage in the state of Illinois. We can have students that can go through the education pathway through ISBE. And we know that most teachers work within a 30-mile radius of their hometown. So we know that if they go on to become a teacher, there is a good chance that they're going to be looking for employment in our area. And the teacher shortage isn't going to go away anytime soon. So how can we grow our own teachers and bring them here? There's some other experiences, the 60 hours of supervised experience. They do have to teach and prepare a lesson for our community involvement. So they're enrolled in community involvement. They go down to our middle school or elementary, and they have a mentor teacher down there. Eventually they have to prepare and teach a lesson. And one of our teachers who is overseeing it will go down and observe them and evaluate them, similar to what the Danielson model is, but just not nearly in depth. They have to do some team-based challenges. And one of those team-based challenges is our last professional development meeting. They presented to our staff about some things they would like to see student culture-wise in our building and how they feel like there's some things that we could be doing differently, which was great. And that's intimidating, but they're able to, 3 students talk to about 15 staff members who are sitting there about what they would like to see done differently. And they did an excellent job. Then if they do complete this Golden Apple, which offers, I think, like $23,000 scholarship, if they get accepted into this, or they complete this pathway, they are automatically vaulted into the top 20%. They already become a finalist for this Golden Apple scholarship. So they're not competing with a large chunk of people who might want to be educators. They know they want to be educators. So they're getting vaulted into this final round. So how we had to do some of this, and for any of you education centers on, what I would advise you to do on how to start these programs is find the education. So we knew where our local community college was. We sent students to, again, right across the river. We also have dual credit with Sauk Valley Community College, which is in Illinois, still kind of far away, but online we were able to set up some classes for them to earn this dual credit. We can find a business that says yes. So JT Colon definitely wanted to make sure that they were pipelining manufacturers to them, and they were also looking at those positions. We know ourselves, teacher shortage wise, we're going to be open to this, to helping these students become future educators, because we know they're most likely going to be returning to the area. And then the only thing, if you're looking at the register apprenticeship through the Department of Labor, is finding the educational entity that oversees the apprenticeship. And that was, for us, that's usually the community college that oversees that. So the next part that I'll share with you is kind of what we had to then discuss as a staff as to what we needed to do. This is just a general outline of a 4-year plan for students if they wanted to get into the apprenticeship program, what their required courses would look like and their electives look like. And you can see once they become juniors and seniors, a lot of the other electives that they might not be interested in fall off, and they're able to really focus on that career path moving forward. So then again, we're looking at attaining, maintaining consistent employment, non-college or non-military bound students. We've partnered, not even through apprenticeships, but we started partnering with local businesses for students that just need kind of an end goal when they get out of high school. So for example, IEP students, transition goals, and local employers being able to set them up with the ability to go and actually start working, and then they're able to continue that employment once they graduate high school. And that has helped with just allowing them to be placed. Our on-pay students who are at risk, so they're ones that are doing okay. With the community involvement, we know that they take roughly 60 hours of work, and that gets them a half credit. So those that are students that are at risk, that might not necessarily be super motivated to finish school, how can we get them into some of these workplace experiences, and every 60 hours, that can be their half credit earned. Or a class that substitutes for class. Behind pay students, or students that we know are not going to graduate with their classes, again, that 60 hours, half credit of electives that can get them to, it allows them to really just focus on their core classes, their English, math, science, history, and then all those other electives, as soon as they complete 60 hours, that can be a half credit. And that will add up pretty darn quick as they're working outside of school hours in order to start working towards their diploma. So when their college, or when their friends graduate, it's not necessarily that they're done, that they're over with and the school washes their hands. It's a way to kind of help those students continue on and earn their diploma. Again, there's other things, I call them authentic career experiences, that we tried to set up here at Fulton High School. We have culinary arts. We recently renovated a room that overlooks our varsity contests, and we're calling it the Central Bank Steam Suite. It's a private box suite where our culinary arts and business students are running a catering business above the gym for varsity contests. Our welding and construction classes, again, they are they do things around here, around the school that we need. So they made tables for our steamer suite. They're also doing ticket booths for our athletic boosters and for home games that were falling apart. They've built storage sheds, business and technology. Again, they're helping in that department. Our media pub, we live stream all of our home varsity events, and those are students that are running the live stream. So you can always check us out on YouTube to find those different events, to watch these games if you're unable to attend in person. Our art class, again, they've decorated our tables, they're painting. We've talked to them about doing more stuff around the high school as well. So as we keep creating these authentic career experiences for students, it's really trying to open up the school day to allow them to be there. Then the other part, having to talk with staff and to our board about what we needed to do, is really comes down to flexibility and how flexible our school is willing to be. So our schedule right now, it's block scheduling is great. And there's pros and cons to it, especially, for example, being in a small school, trying to adjust our block schedule to courses that are being offered over at Clinton, and Clinton's a traditional schedule. So our kids see different classes each day. Clinton students see classes, the same classes, same time every single day. So we have to balance that out and what that means. Graduation requirements, we have to take a good look at what those are. And do they need all those requirements? We've gone above and beyond what the state requires. Do we need to do that? Or can we relax some of those? But if we're not going to relax some of those, can we look at math, English, science credits from an experience or from a different class? So for example, can we say you need 4 years of English, but if you are a student in yearbook and you're writing a bunch of articles for the yearbook, can that be your English credit? Can you show some type of competency that that can be recognized as your final English credit? Then our school day, does it have to be from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.? We had a student that went to a work site from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and we didn't have him come in from 8 to noon. So we just flexed his day later. And then our graduate portfolio, having kids really be the ones that drive what they're doing, putting together those items. And then the one link that's in there is the education pathway template. That is an exercise I took staff through that really had them go through and look at, okay, if a student wants to become a teacher and we're going to require them to take these classes, what in our current system prohibits them from completing this pathway? And then how do we get around those? So it was a good discussion. By all means, it's there for people to look at and use. And then again, how we kept revamping it, P20 or the network that it's career focused, we work with them, competency-based education. It's a pilot program for ISBE. We got into that, career pathways, creating course sequences and experiences for our students. And then we keep looking at ways to increase those authentic career experiences. The one thing we were able to do this year with the Steamer Suite is we would rent that out. Students that would work in there, we found out we can pay students up to $600 in a calendar year and not have to give them a 1099. So that was a way for us to kind of look at it from that point of view, as far as, okay, if this is a truly career authentic experience, if you're going to quote unquote put time in after school, we could look at recognizing that time monetarily. Yeah, just more of the community involvement and things that we've done with the state, just college career readiness, Zello, using a platform to make sure we know where we're at. I'll by all means answer any questions that you guys have. Registered apprenticeships, when we did that, I'll finish up here quick, but it was great for us, allowed us to increase our offerings. I know the manufacturers have enjoyed it because they're getting people right out of high school that they're being trained, getting their certificates, and they're most likely going to stay. And now the student has another way to look at where they're going to go after high school and having some of that closure. But if there are any questions, thank you for the time. Then Dr. Hogan and I, that's our contact information. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Bob. And I put a note in there too. So they'll be sharing again next week. They're very wonderful presenters here at our 60 by 25 conference, where we'll have a session really on those youth apprenticeships and what that looks like at the high school level. So excited to hear you all share at that too. But I'll keep it open. I don't know if Bob and Daryl are able to hang on, or others who might have questions, but we'll keep the recording going. But if you need to head out, you need to head out. Understand, I'll send a follow-up email with all this tomorrow as well. But any questions or pieces here for Bob or for Daryl? I love all the in-house opportunities. And again, our intern Annie is going to be checking in with you all to capture those. I think building those in-house opportunities is such a great kind of scale capacity piece that you all can offer. Again, our own institutions as employers, right?
Heather, you talked about a showcase. Is that going to be a live event or a virtual event?
It's going to be virtual. So here I can share for those of you who are still on, and then this will be in the recording as well. So I have your presentation up here, but here's the showcase. So this is what we're talking about. So for April, again, kind of having a showcase of all that everyone's been up to. It will be virtual. right? And so kind of thinking it's going to be, 6 to 8 different pilot sites. We'll host different breakout rooms. We'll have an opportunity to kind of, I don't know if we call it a round robin, I guess. And shout out to Cassie as well for partnering with me on this. But, every 10 to 15 minutes or so, you get to go into a small room, learn from a pilot site, what challenges were addressed, what lessons were learned, any new resources that they develop, their insights and best practices, but really kind of have that more small group discussion within each of those rooms, time for some Q&A, a bit more maybe informal than some of the presentations here have been with communities of practice, but thinking too, this could be opened up to communities outside of the pilot, right, to learn about what you all have done and accomplished and where you've overcome any challenges.
That's one thing I've been thinking about too, is I would love to have, districts that weren't able to participate in this grant necessarily to come and check this out, because there's really some cool stuff going on with this.
So next steps generally on my end, I'm going to send out as always, just like a feedback form that asks you like insights you got from today, kind of where your plan's at. There's a question in there too. I know even to Daryl's question earlier about like what opportunities are next, right? There's an initial ping about how you're thinking about scale and sustainability of your pilots, right? And please put in there, your thoughts on that, your needs on that, just kind of want to get a start. We'll have more of a conversation in that and do some polling and pieces as well at the showcase. But would love some of your initial thoughts there too, to be thinking about state structures or frameworks or other resources that we can share, right, to support that scale and sustainability for some, again, like Karen said, very, very cool, exciting, intentional pilots that you all have had. But thank you all again for joining.